Hello everyone and welcome to the mill. So I was originally planning with Molly that we would put up the last R&R ball video this week, but then Stamp Swap was announced and I figured you could use a quick update with Stonemaier news because there was so much that I feel like was in kind of that newsletter update email. So I'm going to look at that, give you the highlights of what's going on in Stonemaier news and kind of what Jamie has said so far about Stamp Swap from the live cast. I am recording this Wednesday afternoon after the live cast, just in case he had put anything else in there. And then at the end of the video, if you're interested, I'll also talk a little bit about Gen Con because I was at Gen Con and got to meet a bunch of awesome Stonemaier ambassadors and people and had a really good time. So I'll save that for the end in case you just want to hear about Stonemaier news. So first off, obviously Stamp Swap is the big news of the day. So that was just announced today, which is Wednesday with Jamie's live cast, and it is by Paul Solomon, who I would say you probably know from HoneyBuzz. So he's already an established designer, and him and Jamie have been developing this. Stamp Swap was actually at Stonemaier Design Day in 2022, and it was very highly rated. So that's where all this kind of began. Jamie goes into a little bit in the live cast, which was August 14th today, and then obviously there's going to be design diaries that just keep going. So from there, we already know about Stamp Swap. It's an I cut, you choose, which to a lot of people makes a lot of sense because Jamie's been kind of saying for a while he was interested in having a game at Stonemaier Games that used this mechanic. So it is the I cut, you choose. What Jamie mentioned in the live cast, one part that he really likes that kind of makes it a little bit more unique is that as you're making your piles to swap that people might take, you get to keep one in your reserve. So there is one thing that if you're thinking your strategy and you're like, I really want this one stamp, you can take it. Unless it's one of the special rare ones, which Jamie's kind of showed off a little bit. I can't quite show those yet, but he has. And these rare stamps have this gold foil on them, which is really pretty. So that's something to kind of check out on the Stonemaier website. There's also already a Facebook group for it, and the conversation has been crazy on the Stonemaier Discord. All right. So just going in with the schedules, the launch for Stamp Swap is September 4th. Content creators such as Molly and I can start posting stuff on August 23rd. So that's when you'll start seeing all of that drop. I know Molly has an unboxing that she's working on, and I've been working on a solo playthrough or partial playthrough for you. So that stuff will start dropping on August 23rd with the launch order on September 4th. So September 4th, that's going to be a big day on the Stonemaier web store because what's also been told to us is that's also when the apiary expansion, which is a more stuff expansion, as Jamie puts it, will also be up on the web store that day. Now, he hasn't released anything specific about that, except he's kind of making it so you can get a few things that day. Also, the last 3 Rolling Realms promo realms, which is Stamp Swap and a couple others, it's the last 3 that were in the Rolling Realms Redux Compendium that hadn't been out yet. Those are going to be on the web store on the 4th. So lots of launches on the 4th. Seems kind of crazy because we've had a lot of releases, and Jamie even mentioned that on the live cast today that he wants to try to work on spacing things out a little differently next year because it feels like we just got Rolling Realms Redux. Now we're talking Stamp Swap. And we're really quickly also getting the apiary expansion. So probably they're going to try to spread things out a little bit more next year, but really exciting for Stonemaier fans because, wow, we are getting a boon on September 4th that we can order. All right, just making sure that I have the apiary expansion specifics. Oh, the other part that was kind of in this newsletter as a reminder, the Smoking Bones travel guide that Andrew Bosley has put together is on Kickstarter. The reason this connects to Stonemaier, if you've kind of missed that, is because Stonemaier is doing board games within Bosley's Smoking Bones world. So this is just Bosley's travel guide for Smoking Bones. It's on Kickstarter, but that is the same world that Stonemeier's working on games. And they've been very, very conscientious that they are using plural there. So if you want a sneak peek into a world that's going to enter the tabletop world through Stonemaier games, that would be the Smoking Bones one that's on Kickstarter with Bosley. All right, and now the progress chart, which has had some adjustments over the last couple months. So I'm just going to look at here and then kind of relay it to you. All right, obviously Stamp Swap and Apiary Expansion, we know those are about to come here. It says Crow, which is the next code name. All right, it says Q something 2025, which interesting though, is underneath Crow is the keyword path, which I don't remember if that came, I don't think that came up last month. And there's some discussion, we're not sure on Discord. It does say Q question mark 2024. We don't know if that's a typo or if that's real and we're getting another surprise. So, but there is a new word, path, and it's like super high on the chart. So that's interesting. That one is, let's see, it is yellow at graphic design. So honestly, no idea what that is. And just to give you an idea, Crow that's 2025 is yellow at the components. So don't know. It could be a typo. It might not be. We'll find out. I feel like you never know with Stonemaier games. They like to surprise us sometimes. Other things that are underneath codename path are Vantage, which we already know. That one is also in graphic design. Codename Cape is in graphic design. Wormspan Expansion 1 is in solo design. Codename Deep has 4 yellow dots, so it's ranging from art through, sorry, looking at the little chart here, art through solo design. And then Bone is also in art through blind play testing. Lost is 3 yellow dots from design through blind play testing, it looks like. And we have codename Keys, which is another recent one from this summer. And that one is just in design. And Wingspan Expansion 4 is in design and art. So that is where the progress chart is. What are you excited about? What do you think about codename Path? What do you think about codename Keys? Kind of let us know in the comments below. But that is pretty much what I have for you in regards to the Stonemaier updates on today, August 14th, and where we are with Stamp Swap. So I look forward to bringing you some content on that later, and I know Molly does as well. And now I'm gonna transition a little bit to Gen Con. The first thing I'll talk about is something that kind of bridges that gap, because as you know, Stonemaier they partner with MapleSource, and they do a lot of that with components when they're at Gen Con. And I didn't pick these up at Gen Con, but they had them there. I had done the Kickstarter. But if you are a big Wormspan fan, they do have little, let's see if I can get, dragons. So you can get them in various colors. Oh, hello, Selenia. She heard me say dragons. First player marker is massive. This is the round marker they have for Wormspan. And they had a bunch of different colors you could get. I got 6 of them just in case I would ever need a 6th one. Personally, I think the white color piece dragon is absolutely adorable. So when you get these for Wormspan, they come with 4 of these bigger ones, which I believe are for like when you're placing your dragons for the goals. They have these really tiny little head ones, which I am assuming is for the guild. And then everyone has a unique explorer. So I really like the white ones. I thought these orange ones were kind of cool. So that's the orange one. All right. And I always love blue, so just wanted to show off a few of them. So if you are very much into upgrading your pieces, here's my little explorer for blue. Oh yeah, and they also come with the guild marker that goes around the guild track. That MapleSource now is Wormspan ones. So those were at Gen Con. Is that I had backed their Kickstarter for it. So mine had actually just came in right after Gen Con, which was kind of nice. Oh, you want to come say hi? Come here. Say hi. Yeah, this is what happens when you come and bug me. Okay. So that was one of the first things, and that's always a fun booth to go to. There's always a fun crowd. That's where I got to meet up with Dusty and his son Josh, and our friend Jen, who always works there, who's a Stonemaier ambassador you see on the mill a couple times. So they work with MapleSource, and they're always doing demos, so I got to hang out with them. And for me, Gen Con is a lot more about playing games and about kind of the experiences and the people. I don't do as much shopping, though I do obviously do some because I like board games. But it was very fun to see them. There's a hot games room, and so I got to play a couple games with them. It was later at night, so it was some party games, which was great. So they taught me Things and Rings and vegetable stock, which were some really fun. Things and Rings has been talked about in a lot of places, and it really was a great fun end of the night game. Since they've been working all day, and I think it was almost 11 o'clock at night, we just played it with the 2 rings with that Venn diagram instead of adding the third, because our brains were a little fried, but it was great fun. So many laughs, and I feel like that's what Gen Con is about. You just go with it. It's like, hey, I'm here. Are you available? Come here. And you just have fun with what's there. I also got to meet, finally in person, Connie Vogelman and her partner David, and they are fantastic. I knew they were, but it was great to meet them in person. So we got to play some games with them in the hot games room. I played River something Glassworks? I'm forgetting the full title. River Valley Glassworks, there we go. So David looked at the rule book real quick and taught that to us, and we played that one. I also got to see them at a different dinner event, and they taught us Ultimate Dibs, which was another kind of fun little party game. Kind of Codenames-esque, but I think I kind of liked it a little bit better, though I'm not a huge Codenames person. I thought this one was a little bit more interesting because you're also almost trying to get like a tic-tac-toe sense in which words you're trying to get on this grid. So that was kind of a fun team game that Connie introduced us to, and we got to play it with her. So that was great. So I got to meet them. Also ran into Nugs and Val, who are a couple other awesome Stonemaier ambassadors that were helping out and working at the convention. And we got to play Let's Go to Japan together, which I would say that's probably it's definitely my top 3 new to me games from Gen Con. Definitely came home and ordered it. I had so much fun. It's just a nice, gorgeous drafting game. And so I had a blast playing with them. And yeah, that was one of the ones I ended up coming home and ordering because I really liked Let's Go to Japan. I would say my other top 2 games to round out my top 3 new to me games, number 1 was probably Dead Reckoning. I had never played it. It was on my I really want to try list because they had a Kickstarter going. And so my husband and a couple of my friends and we actually learned it on the spot at the Gen Con library. So Lucas Oilfield, and we were pretending to be pirates, and it was amazing. We just watched the Knights Around the Table How to Play video and got going and got through most of the game. And actually at that dinner event I saw Connie at, I even won a copy of it. So I'm pretty excited because Dead Reckoning was a good time. It's the card crafting system. Johnny Claire does it, and it's a really interesting way of upgrading your cards, which is with a fun theme. So that was probably my number 1 new to me game. I also got to play Queen by Midnight, which was pretty hot last Gen Con, but I didn't get a chance to try it. And I had heard the rule book was a little rough, so I signed up for an event. We had a great teacher, and we had a lot of fun. It reminded me kind of maybe Dice Throne meets a real deck builder. So there was definitely some take that, but we had a great group and a great time. So yeah, I would say Dead Reckoning, Queen by Midnight, and Let's Go to Japan were probably my top 3 new to me Gen Con games, and it was a blast. So between those new games and getting to meet all these people, playing all these games, it was a great time. For me personally, the other big part of this Gen Con was I actually got to bring my kids for a day. My in-laws were so awesome, and they brought them over to Indy. And I have an 8-year-old and 11-year-old, and we brought them on Sunday, which is more family day anyways, because there isn't as much out necessarily. They got to do sword fighting. We were in the Hachette room, and they weren't so interested in the games I had signed them up for, but they had this bigger Pac-Man Corridor game out, and they loved it to the point where my 8-year-old then immediately, before he even got into the vendor hall, went and purchased it. right there. He haven't even made it to the vendor hall, and he's already purchasing a new game, which we've played a bunch. So definitely recommend Pac-Man Corridor, especially even with your kids, or if you like Pac-Man. It's a really fun game. So they had a blast there. Also, Gen Con, you just get to meet people. They're very, very big into dice throwing, like myself. And they got to meet one of the designers, Nate, and signed a board, took pictures with them, and was just so welcoming. And that's what I feel like you get at Gen Con. I know so many people were happy to see Connie because of Apiary and Wormspan. You just get to meet, whether it's content creators, designers, artists. There are so many people there that you just don't see elsewhere. And I said, I feel like Gen Con's about those experiences. You still get to play games, whether it's in the library, the hot games room. A couple nights, they have just rooms open. You bring your own games, your own purchases. So that was my Gen Con. And so kind of the Mills Gen Con, since I was the one there. And if you have any other awesome Gen Con memories from this year that you want to share, those were kind of my big highlights. Oh, I forgot about one thing. I also ran into Heather Dixon, who was at Design Day last year, who did Apostocracy and had her game funded. She hosted a high tea event. So at Gen Con, I got to go have high tea. I taught Heather Catherine, which is a capstone game from I think a couple years ago, and we had a blast having tea and playing board games. So once again, just one of those awesome experiences because of people, games, and finding something new every time. All right, so once again, if you have any commentary or questions, whether it's on Gen Con, Stamp Swap, the upcoming Apiary expansion, anything that you are kind of fascinated or interested in, leave it in the comments below, and I look forward to bringing you more Stamp Swaps, news and content in the very near future. Have a great day. Bye.